Hi everyone, Christina here. Welcome to another card video at my YouTube channel and blog. Today I'm going to be playing with this new stamp set from Simon Says Stamp called Fingerprint Doodles. This is a new stamp set that I designed for their latest release and I'm going to play with it today. So those stamp colors you see on screen, you can ignore those because I've changed it. I changed my mind as I was making this card. But the first thing I did to prep for this card was I created a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base made out of some Neenah Desert Storm cardstock. This is the 100-pound version, and I just scored that at 5 1/2 to create a top folding card. I then took a 3x3 post-it note or sticky note, and I placed that on the card front and traced it with a pencil just so I would have a guide for where to stamp all these fingerprints. So speaking of these fingerprints, I changed up those colors of ink and I've used Smoke and now Sunshine. And I'm going to be stamping 9 different fingerprints to create a square grouping of these little fingerprint animals. So I've also used Hollyhock ink and Jelly Bean ink. And then the last ink color I'm going to use is Wisteria. And you may notice that I've stamped some of those horizontally, and that's because the animals in the stamp set are positioned lengthwise. They're not tall. So there's a fish and also a pig in there that I think are really cute and I wanted to use. So I specifically stamped those thumbprints or fingerprints horizontally so I could put those animals on top. So this Simon Says Stamp ink takes a little bit of time to dry. It soaks into the cardstock, and I'm going to be stamping on top and doing some heat embossing, so I need to kind of do a test run to see if this embossing powder is going to stick to those fingerprints instead of the stamping I'm about to do. And it's a good thing I tested, because sure enough, that ink wasn't completely dry. So I'm going to shake off the excess embossing powder, swipe it off, and I'm going to heat set that once again to speed up the drying process. So I'm using my heat tool for that, and then I'm applying even more powder from my anti-static powder tool. So I'm going to take it to the embossing powder again and test it out. And this time it worked really well. I was able to shake off the excess powder, so I know that it's ready to move on and do my stamping on top. So I took each one of these animals and put it on a little block and stamped it in Versamark ink, because Versamark is a very sticky ink and it's going to make sure that that embossing powder adheres well. I then heat set that. I did this first one on its own just so I could get a good test run of how it was going to look, and I liked how it turned out. So then I moved on and I stamped a couple different birds, and I also stamped that goldfish. This is that goldfish that I had turned on its side. And I'm going to go ahead and emboss these 3 right now just to have a little bit done as well. So I heat set those, and now I'm going to stamp the remaining animals and my greeting as well. So I have a fox and then this mouse. I love his ears, they're so cute. That was one of my favorite animals to illustrate. I also have a bunny right here. I'm going to put a turtle over that green fingerprint, and then I'm going to end with the pig. And I really, really love the pig because he just has a lot of character. The greeting I'm using for this card is One of a Kind. I thought that went really well with all those silly little animals. And I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle on some embossing powder for the last few animals and also that greeting. Versamark ink stays sticky for a long time, so I wasn't too concerned about it drying out before I applied. So I'm going to use my heat tool and heat set this until all of those lines are smooth and melted. And I like to tip it in the light and make sure that everything is melted all the way down. So now I'm going to apply that post-it note back over that area, and I erased all the lines that were around that square except for the bottom line so that I could later line this up. So that's why I kept that line there, because I wanted to put this post-it note back on in the same place. And now I'm going to take some white pigment ink from Simon Says Stamp and a Ranger mini round blending tool. And I'm just going to blend some of this white pigment ink off the edge of the post-it. And this is going to give me a nice soft edge around this entire area. It's kind of a way to mimic having another layer on your card without having to have an actual layer. So that is going to finish the card for today. This was a super simple and easy card to create, and you could change up the colors and it would be really awesome. So today's post is part of a blog hop for Simon Says Stamp, so make sure you head to my blog for a chance to win a $25 gift card to simonsaysstamp.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.